Hello, and welcome to part 2 of the Introduction to Qualtrics tutorial. In this video, we'll be going over other question types, forced responses and randomizations, how to use page breaks, skip logic, and display logic. So we can go ahead and go back to Qualtrics. And this is the same survey we were working on in the previous video. The next question we are going to add, just select the Add Question button, Add New Question at the end of your survey. And the next one we're going to add is rate your feelings towards each of the following organizations. And we're going to make that a slider question. So once you hit that button, that should be at the top. You'll be able to select slider and add the new question. So for this question, it's a slider, and just type in, rate your feelings toward the following organizations, and you can select the number of organizations or statements you'd like here. In this case, there will be 4 of them. And you also have the option of using scale points to say what your minimum and maximum scores will be. In this case, it's 0 to 100. And you can look at the other options for how many grid lines you would want. In this case, I did in a grid line of 10. So it'll go up from 10, 20, 30, 40 in sequences of 10. I'm going to add a not applicable option, which is right here. If you select this option, you'll have a not applicable answer added. You can change not applicable to don't know, or any other thing you think is appropriate for your question. I'm going to type don't know so that each respondent has the option of selecting don't know if they're not familiar with the organizations we're asking about. And then also you can add labels. So I had already added 2 labels, but you can turn that on, turn it off. I'm going to add it again, and I'm going to add 2 labels, one at the end, one at the beginning, so that the respondent knows that 0 equates to not identifying, and higher scores such as 90, 100 would equate to strongly identifying with the organizations we're asking about. And then they would just drag and drop here. If you want to snap to the grid lines and get only like 10 or 20, etc., then you would just hit this button, this check, and then they have to only select on the grid lines. I'm going to take that off just so that they have more options. You can use suggested labels if you don't want to type your own. And then also we are going to look at how to randomize the organization order, just to take out any bias, again, of any bias that would come with how they ordered the questions. So for instance, somebody might rank the first one that they see higher just because it was listed first. So in that case, we would just hit statement randomization, just like in the previous video, and instead of no randomization, just put display answers in a random order and hit save. That way, each respondent will have these listed in a different order randomly, and that will allow to account for any bias in ordering. And then with the next question, we're going to use something called display logic to ask specifically a follow-up about the Sierra Club. So I'm going to name, you can go ahead and name question whatever you would like. I'm going to name it organizations. Just so when we download the data, that will be the variable name. It just makes it easier to keep track of our data. And then for this one, I'm going to do Sierra follow up. All right, so for this question, describe your impressions of the Sierra Club. It's going to be a text entry. So when you add that new question, select text entry here. And instead of single line, I'm going to do an essay box just so it allows them to write as much as they'd like. You can expand it by clicking the corner here to determine how large you would like the essay box to be. And then we're going to add a display logic. So for display logic, we would go under question behavior, hit the display logic button, and then you display this question only if this condition is met. So under the organization's rating question that we just created, if Sierra Club is less than 30. So this question will only display if they rated Sierra Club less than 30. And then you can check this box or uncheck it if you want it to be in the same page or the next page. So I'm gonna check it so that when this question is displayed, it's displayed on the same page as the question, the previous question we just created, where they slide the scale. So once they slide it to anything less than 30, this question would appear in the same page. You just hit save, and then that will display the question once those terms are met. Okay, so I'm also going to show you how to add page breaks. In between questions, there'll be this add page break button that you can select, and then it'll add a page break so that the questions are in different pages of the survey. You can also add a new block if you'd like. So I've made this question basically on its own page, separated from the demographic questions that come first. You can also do an add a page break by selecting the question and clicking the three dots on the right hand corner, and you should see an add page break option from the drop down. That's just another option for how to add a page break. So next we're going to go over some skip logic options. I'm going to add a block down here, and I'm going to move it up to the top because we're going to do informed consent block. So I'm going to move block to the top of survey, hit confirm. You can also do this with individual questions. So if you do the three buttons here, you can hit move question, and that will do the same thing if you want to change up the order of your questions. So I've added the block up here. I'm going to hit add new question, and I'm just going to hit the text graphic option. And if you have like IRB informed consent forms, you can put all of that here. Informed consent text goes here, and you would fill that in with whatever informed consent makes sense for your project. And I'm going to hit add new question, and I'll just do a multiple choice. Please select one of the following, and I'm going to change it to only two options. I consent to participate. I do not consent to participate. And we're going to make this question mandatory. So select the question and scroll down and hit add requirements. And force response is already selected. So we're going to keep that. And Now we could do like in the previous video a basic skip logic where if I do not consent is selected, it would just skip you to the end of the survey, like we did in the previous video. But instead, I'm going to show you how to do a quick survey flow. So in this option, we would do some branching. So under block 1, we're going to hit add below and we're going to hit branch and you're going to add a condition. So question, which question? Please select one of the following. That's our informed consent question. And if I do not consent to participate is selected. You can also do is not selected, but if that is selected, then hit save and then add new element. It's going to go to the end of the survey. So branch, if I do not consent to participate is selected, end the survey. And just hit apply or save, and that will branch the question and just end the survey if they do not consent to participate and meet that requirement. Okay, so the last thing we're going to go over is just how to preview this, just to make sure everything's working. So in the right-hand corner, you should see a preview option. If you select that, you will be taken to a preview of the survey. So let's see if I do not consent to participate is selected. Let's see what happens. It ended the survey immediately. So I'm going to restart it and hit I consent to participate. On age, I'm going to put 17 to make sure the skip logic is working. And it ended the survey again. It skipped us to the end. So let's restart it. All right, I consent to participate. I'm going to put, all right, and then our demographic questions. All right, and this is our slider. Everything seems to be working. All right, let's see. Aha, and since we selected 10, the second question, the follow-up question for Sierra Club popped up since it was less than 30, so that's working great. And then that's the end of the survey. So everything so far is working great. And that concludes this video, and we will go over more things about how to download data and stuff in part 3 on the next video.